Welcome to how to create a fun felt Photoshop text effect. Learn how to create this stitched felt text effect from scratch that you can use in your own projects and designs. Hi, I'm Jonathan Lamb, a digital artist with over 10 years of experience, and in this video we'll take you through step by step on how to create this custom illustration using Photoshop settings. So before we begin, make sure to check out Envato Elements. Here you can get unlimited downloads of video templates, stock video, audio tracks, and effects. That's millions of creative assets all ready to use with simple commercial licensing. Plus, no lock-in contract means that you can cancel at any time. Subscribe now with the link in the description. So let's start by going over what assets we need to complete the tutorial. You'll find the links of all the assets you need to follow along in the description below. First, we need the felt pattern, and then we'll be using the League Spartan font, but feel free to use any font that you like. Once you have all of that, let's get started in Photoshop. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel for more free courses and tutorials. So let's start by creating a new document with a width of 850, a height of 600, and a resolution of 72. Now, if you use another canvas size, we're going to have to adjust the layer style. So let's keep it at this size for now and click on Create. Then we want to create a new layer here, and let's call this Felt Background. And we're just going to use the Fill tool to fill it with any color that we like. From there, we want to select the felt background layer, right click on that, choose blending options, and then we want to choose pattern overlay. And then over where the pattern option is, we want to click on the arrow here, and we want to import our felt pattern using this option here. And then once we've imported our felt pattern, it should appear in the options here. Select it to apply the effect. To add color, select color overlay. Make sure the blend mode is set to overlay here. And we're going to choose a color which is 428 FC7. Once you've added the color in here, click OK to apply it. Next, let's create a new document. And using the text tool here, we're going to type in felt. And then using the character panel here, we're going to make just a few adjustments. So for the tracking, we want to set that at 200. And for the font size, we'll set that at 320. Once we've done that, let's go ahead and move this to the center of our canvas. Select our text layer and press Ctrl J twice on the keyboard to make two copies of our text layer. Right click on the first one, select blending options, and we're going to add a stroke to this. So make sure that the position is set to outside, and we're going to set the size of this to 15 pixels. Click OK, and then we're going to do the same for the second layer here. So right click, go to blending options, select stroke, and this time we're going to set the pixel size to 10. Next, we're going to press Ctrl J again to create a third copy of this text layer. And then under the effects here, we're going to go to the fill opacity and set that to 0%. Uncheck stroke. And we're going to go to bevel and emboss. For the settings, we want to make sure that it's a style which is inner bevel, technique of smooth, a depth of 100%, direction is set to down, a size of 18 pixels, and for the shading we want the angle to be 120 degrees, use global light with an altitude of 30 degrees. The highlight mode is set to overlay with a color which is white, the opacity is at 79%, shadow mode set to multiply, and the color which is black, and an opacity of 88%. Once you've done that, click OK. And then we want to go over to our layers here. And we want to right click on our first felt layer. And we want to convert this into a smart object. And then we want to do the same for our other two layers here as well. So right click, convert to smart object, and then for the third one, right click and convert to smart object. Excellent. Now we're just going to click on the eye icon here to hide our top two layers. So felt 3 and 2. Go to felt 1 and let's go ahead and add these new styles here. So let's go to the layer style, and for the drop shadow, we want to make this a color of pure black. Make sure we set the blend mode to multiply. The opacity is set to 42%, and the angle will set this to 120 degrees using global light. The distance will set this at 2 pixels and a spread of 0% and a size of 2 pixels. And then once we've done that, the next thing we want to look at is we want to look at the color overlay. So for this one, let's go ahead and choose a color. So the color that we're going to use here is 328 F1F. Click OK to apply that. And then next we're going to use the pattern overlay. So select pattern overlay, and then we're going to use the felt pattern as we did previously. And then we're going to go to bevel and emboss here. And then we're going to make sure that we've got the settings correct. So again, set this to smooth, a depth of 100%, a size here of 2 pixels, and the angle at 120 degrees using global light, an altitude of 30 degrees. And then again, overlay and multiply for the highlight mode and shadow mode. And for the opacity of the highlight, we want this at 75%. And for the shadow, we're going to put this at 19%. Next, we want to go to filter, other, and go to minimum here. And then we want to expand the radius to 10 pixels. Click OK. Now we want to go to felt 2. Right click, go to blending options here, and we want to add a drop shadow here. And again, make sure it's set to multiply, 42%, 120 degrees, 2 pixels, exact same layout as what we had previously. Color overlay, we're going to set the color here to C11A1A. Click OK to apply that. Make sure that the pattern, the felt pattern, has been applied. And then we're going to go to bevel and emboss here. And then from here, we're going to make sure that it's an inner bevel, smooth at 100%. Again, same settings as what we had previously. Next, let's select our felt 3. And we're going to set the blend mode here to overlay. And then we're going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we're going to set the radius here to 3.3 pixels. Next, let's create the stitch brush. So to do this, let's go to File, New, and we're going to create a new document which is 27 by 5 pixels, and we want to make sure that the background is set to black. Click OK. And then from there, we're going to go to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and let's name this Stitch. Click OK. And then we're going to choose the brush tool here. Go to the brush settings here. Make sure that the brush stitch has been selected. And then under the brush tip shape, we want to set the spacing to 750%. Then with shape dynamics, we want to set the angle jitter here to direction. Then using this button here, we want to go ahead and click on it, select new brush preset, and we're going to set the name as Stitch 2. Click OK. Back in our text document, let's go ahead and create a new layer above all of our text layers here, and we're going to rename this Stitch Effect. hold Control key on your keyboard and click on the Felt 2 layer. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and select Modify, Contract, and let's contract this selection by 12 pixels. Now we're going to go to the Path tab here, and then in the top right hand corner here, I'm just going to move the Paths panel here so you can see. We're going to select that and then select Make Work Path from the selection. Click OK. Select 1 pixels and then click OK. Just going to move the Path panel back here. And then once we go back to our Layers panel, we're going to select the Stitch Effect layer. And then we're going to select our brush tool. Make sure that the Stitch 2 brush has been selected. And then we're going to go back to the Paths tab. And then we're going to right click on this. And we're going to select Stroke Path. Click OK to apply that. And then we're going to go ahead and delete the work path from our Paths panel. Awesome. Now we're just going to add some layer styles to this Stitch Effect layer. So let's right click on this, go to Blending Options. And for the drop shadow here, we're going to go ahead and make the opacity 75%. Next, we're going to use a color overlay here, and we're going to choose a color of E3DBC2. Click OK, and then make sure the blend mode is set to normal to apply the color. And then next, we're going to choose Bevel and Emboss. Choose Inner Bevel, Smooth. And for the highlight mode, we're going to make this screen with an opacity of 75%. And then for the shadow mode, keep it at multiply with a percentage of 44%. Next, let's select all the layers in our layer panel apart from our original text layer. In fact, we can go ahead and delete that now as we no longer need it. And then we're going to right click on this, and then we're going to go ahead and select Convert to Smart Object. And then we're going to right click on this again, select Duplicate Layer. And this time under Destination, we're going to select the first document, which has our background inside it, and then click OK. And this will move our felt text to our original document, like so. Excellent. Now, what we're going to do from here is we're going to go ahead and duplicate this layer again, just so that we have the original copy of our text. And then for our second layer here, we're going to right click on this and rasterize this layer. Use the marquee tool here, select each of our individual layers. We're going to cut them and paste them each individually. So press Ctrl X on the keyboard to cut, and then Ctrl V on the keyboard to paste it onto a new layer. Press M to select the marquee tool, select the L, and then press Ctrl X and Ctrl V like so. And now you can see we have each of the text or each of the letters on their own individual layers. This allows us to move and rotate the letters to create a composition that we like. Next, let's go ahead and right click on one of our layers, select Blending Options here, and we're going to add a drop shadow to each of our letters so that they don't appear flat. So for this, we want a blend mode of multiply, and then we want an opacity of 43, a distance here of 8, and a size of 16, like so. Click OK, and then apply the same to the rest of the layers. If you want to change the color of the individual letters here, let's go ahead and do that by going to the Adjustments panel here, select Hue and Saturation, and then we want to select the Clip to Layer button here so that it affects the layer below. And then here, instead of master, let's go ahead and choose reds so that it only affects the red color of our T here. And then just use the hue to change the color of our T, like so. Cool. And then we can do the same to our other letters. So let's go ahead and do the same for our E here. So adjustments, hue and saturation, click on the clip to layer, and then do the same like this. And remember to choose reds so that it only affects the red color. Next, let's learn how to create the button. So we're going to use the ellipse tool here. Press and hold Shift key on the keyboard to create a perfect circle. And then we're going to right click onto this, select blending options here. And for this, we're going to use a drop shadow here with a opacity of 75, distance of 5, and a size of 5. Then we're going to use a color overlay with this color. But you can choose whatever color you want for your button. So the color we're using here is C8350D. Make sure that the blend mode is set to normal. And then we're going to use the bevel and emboss. So we're going to use an inner bevel, smooth, a depth of 100%, direction up, a size of 5, and then the highlight mode set to overlay with an opacity of 75%, and the shadow mode at multiply and the opacity of 53%. Click OK for that. And then we're going to rasterize this layer. So right click and select rasterize layer. And then we're going to use the ellipse tool here again. We're going to draw 4 more circles. In fact, just to make things a little bit more accurate, let's duplicate this small circle and move it like so to the right. And then we're going to duplicate both of these circles again and move it down like so, just to create 4 small circles like this. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and merge these layers. So right click, select both or all 4 of these circles, right click and select merge shapes. I'm just going to move this up here so you can see. Merge shapes. And then I'm just going to dock my layer panel back here. And then from there, we're going to move these into position. Now, because it's the same color as our button, we can't really see what where it is. So we're just going to go to blending mode and choose a different color for the circles here. And then we're going to select both the small circles and the big button circle. Select our move tool here, and we're just going to center align both of these like so over here. Now press Control on the keyboard and select our small circles to create a selection, and then select our big button here and press Control X to create these small holes. Next, we're going to create the border for our button. So again, let's go ahead and create or use the ellipse tool here and just draw out a bigger circle like so. Just going to move this down here so we can see the size of our border, just to make sure that it's the right size. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger like that. Let's go ahead and center align these. And then from there, we're going to duplicate this new circle, move it above our button, and we're just going to go ahead and make it slightly smaller than our button here, like so. Go ahead and press and hold the Control key on the keyboard and click on the layer here to make a selection. And then we're going to rasterize our big border layer here, and then press Control X to cut a hole. So you'll see here, we've now created a hole and we no longer need this small layer here. Now move our border just above the button here, and we're going to center align both of these. And then we're going to go ahead and right click, select blending options, and then we want to select the same effects as what we had previously for our button. So we may need to make a few adjustments here for our border size just to make it a little bit rounder. So I'm making the size of our bevel just a bit more, so something like 18. And then once you're happy with that, go ahead and select both of the shapes here, and then right click, and let's go ahead and merge those layers. So now we have a button that we can use to decorate our illustration. And there you have it, how to create a fun felt Photoshop text effect. So now that you're familiar with the techniques, why not apply the felt effect to some other shapes and objects as well, such as trees and clouds. If you liked this video and would like to see more, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified of any new and inspiring videos. Check out the Envato Tuts Plus channel to learn Premiere Pro, After Effects and much more. Have fun, and I'll see you next time on Tuts Plus.